Good afternoon, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Monday, October the 7th. The great news from my point of view is that fall finally arrived. Nice to feel cool. Anyway, the big news in Little Rock today is about the Little Rock School District. Mayor Frank Scott Jr. and with the backing of all members of the city board, they all couldn't be there, but they were all signatory to this, made a proposal for a different way of approaching future governance of the Little Rock School District than what the state has so far proposed. The proposal from the city says that there'd be an interim school board appointed jointly by the city and state to serve through elections in November, at which time full local control of the schools would be returned to the voters of Little Rock. This is a big difference from a state plan that doesn't promise full control and talks about dividing the district up into sort of have and have-not schools based on their test scores. In this proposal by the city, there'd be special attention and a memo of understanding between the city and state on operation of the so-called F schools, but the city would also contribute its significant crime prevention and youth money into the course of creating community schools, a so-called holistic approach to the schools most in need of help. That you'd look after helping the families and helping with health and helping with all manner of things that contribute to the difficulties children have when they reach school, when they're particularly from their poor families. It's a step in the right direction. This is a broad proposal. We don't really know how the follow-through will be. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. Will the state control appointments? Will the city control appointments in the interim? How much power will they have? Who will draw the election zones? Who will draw the new high school zones? Many, many things to be decided, but I have to say this, the City of Little Rock City Board has been derelict in support of the schools for decades. The entire 47 years I've been in Little Rock, this is the strongest expression of the city's willingness to be part of the solution in the Little Rock School District, and that's a step in the right direction, so we ought to cheer good news when we see it. The big question is whether the governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, and Johnny Key, his designated education commissioner, and the State Board of Education, who Hutchinson controls, will get behind this plan. The meeting is Thursday. We'll see. The mayor said that Johnny Key and Asa Hutchinson were, quote, intrigued, unquote, by his ideas. That's not the same as saying they'll vote for him. We shall see. One other important piece of school news today is a fine story in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette this morning on a proposal to hire a firm to study whether the state is meeting its obligations in providing adequate funding to state schools. Two firms bid to get the work, and guess what? One of these firms is kind of curious. It was created just for this purpose. It got a tip-off from some legislators, nobody will say who, about this happening. Turns out it's headed by an education man who was trained at the University of Arkansas. He proposes to partner with the Office of Education Policy at the University of Arkansas. This is the Walton-funded pro-school choice, pro-charter, pro-voucher unit at the University of Arkansas. It's a propaganda outfit for the choice movement. Does this mean he'll do a fair and balanced reading of the school districts? We're assured by Bruce Cozart, chair of the House Education Committee, that he would. But Cozart, remember, is the one that had the bill to take over the Little Rock School District and put it in private hands in 2015. Gifts from this group have to be suspicious. It looks to me like the fix is in. Republican legislators want to spend the minimum possible on schools. They think voucher schools and charter schools are cheaper. They are, because they don't have to meet any standards and they don't have to have good working conditions or pay decent pay to teachers. So I'd watch this one closely, but it shows a bit of skullduggery underway at the Republican legislature in behalf of school funding, and that's worth watching. Meanwhile, the big news is in Washington. Donald Trump is channeling Tony Soprano. It has nothing so much as a resemblance of a real-life crime family, a la The Sopranos on HBO. What do we have to do? Donald Trump's going to throw the Kurds under the bus in Syria, pull out U.S. troops, and let the Turks steamroller them. This, of course, helps the Russian point of view, and the Turks, of course, have been a friendly place for Trump to put some of his private hotel developments. Funny about that. What else do we have going on in the Trump world? Where there's the matter of his income tax returns. He doesn't want to give them to criminal investigation in New York State. Federal judge says he has to do it. Will he do it? That's a pretty good question. Don't know. We found out that Trump's man Rudy Giuliani and some of his other friends have been angling to try and take over the gas business in Ukraine. You think that might have something to do with the pressure put on Ukraine to do good deeds for Donald Trump in return for military spending? Perhaps so. That's just some of what we know. We know a second whistleblower has stepped forward who says he has firsthand knowledge of some of Trump's improper dealings in Ukraine. Do you really need a whistleblower? Trump himself has admitted he's done this, says he'd do it again, said he did nothing wrong. Cue the Sopranos theme music, I'd say. Elsewhere in the news today, Leslie Rutledge, the Attorney General, has warned internet sellers they can't sell e-cigarettes and tobacco products by internet or mail. And in Arkansas, this is aimed at reducing vaping sales to teenagers. I'm not so sure about the Attorney General of Arkansas putting limits on interstate commerce, but we shall see about that. You may remember in the last legislative session, Senator Bart Hester passed another piece of legislation, along with several that have come before, that restricts local government's ability to regulate themselves. Fayetteville wants to consider a zoning ordinance that would reduce the ability to put front-facing double garages on houses, promote more of a pedestrian-friendly view of the streets and a traffic view. The Fayetteville Board of Realtors, backed by a real estate industry lobbyist, says this runs afoul of Hester's law that says you can't pass local ordinances on housing design of certain sorts. It's meant to tie locals' planning commission's hands. Will this turn into a lawsuit? Will it stop Fayetteville? Don't know. But this came up when Little Rock passed a tree ordinance last week. Opponents of that ordinance said that this tree ordinance, meant to preserve trees, is really about making it harder to build McMansions on small lots in the heights. This could be an infringement on Bart Hester's law on local zoning controls as well. The real estate industry just doesn't like controls. They'll build how they want to build, no matter how ugly it is. Elsewhere, the Little Rock City Board of Directors' agenda for this week has been set. That is, items that will be discussed next week. One of them is allow them to have loud music at the River Market Amphitheater until midnight. Currently, it must be cut off at 10:30. This is to promote more entertainment venues downtown. Some neighboring hotels and condo dwellers might have something to say about that before it's over. And check back the Arkansas blog later today for a bond hearing in Springfield, Missouri. Rusty Cranford, the admitted felon lobbyist who was part of the huge public corruption inquiry into preferred family health care, kickbacks, bribery, and that sort of thing, is asked to be released from prison until his sentencing date. Wants to spend some time with his family. The government has opposed this previously because he once threatened to have an unfriendly witness killed in this. He says he's reformed from all of that now and ready to meet any requirements the government may put on him. That's the news today. Call your congressman. Arkansas congressmen remain, if not utterly silent, on the incredible activities of an increasingly erratic president, actually defending him like Rick Crawford in an unbelievable statement last week. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.